Today is April 8th, 2015. Yesterday I had planned to make a video post just because I made a lot of Twitter comments that I know certain individuals who are enemies to me will allege are false memories, and they're not false memories. But because I know how they try to portray me, I think it would have been good to show, like, okay, I wasn't in a strange state of mind or anything. But anyway, basically from day to day, I think, I've made maybe 166 over that many video clips in the last several months. And I think all of them show that I pretty much act the same and talk the same. And of course I have tears, but I cry when it's appropriate, when it would be appropriate, and any normal person would, when talking about some of the things that I have talked about that have actually happened to me. But aside from that, and my show dog here, and my face, which is totally disintegrated because of what the government's been doing for the last year and over a year now. I am fine, I am mentally normal, except for the fact that I'm not okay with the fact that the United States government has kidnapped my babies, and I'm not okay with the fact that they've taken the baby that they have taken from me right now. And just because I'm not crying and sobbing in every single video doesn't mean that I don't care and that I am not emotionally distressed by what this government has done. So, they try to screw you over one way or the other. If you don't cry enough, then supposedly you don't really care that much about your own kid, and it's not a big deal. They don't have to. You have no sympathy, and you don't really need your kid back because you don't really love your kid, and you don't really care about your kid if you're not an emotional wreck. And then, alternately, if you say, I'm depressed, and I'm not able to cope right now very well, then they come at you with things like, okay, there was this depressed person who just took out a gun and killed a bunch of people, or there was this pilot who was diagnosed with depression and it wasn't managed, and he crashed an entire plane of people from Germany into the French Alps. So you really can't win with these people. And and so basically, they don't want you to have any evidence for things to have damages against them about. The United States government, when they're kidnapping your kids, they don't want you to have damages of depression and be able to make a claim that they have been committing malicious crimes against you and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They would rather say, no, she's not depressed. She doesn't have any normal symptoms that a normal person would have, such as anxiety or depression, and she's harmless. No, they want to say, no, she's dangerous, she's potentially dangerous, she's psychotic, she's delusional. And her real mental illness is that she is schizophrenic. So, whatever the United States, being quote-unquote schizophrenic, and especially being an alternate variety of schizophrenic, because that's what they tried to say when I was younger and had a baby in this area. It works for the government because then they can just dismiss any idea of, so what if she's depressed or anything else. Her real mental illness is not something that we are responsible for. And so they basically gut your claim for even a civil rights lawsuit against them. Even if you would try to go at them from that angle. They just want to take out anything that they can that can be used against them. And right now, before I go into my next video post about what RICOrape did to me and how the United States government had colluded to have him rape me as well as all of these other men, and he's not like the tip of the iceberg either, because there are some other men that I haven't mentioned yet. But at least since I was talking about Chris Dabney and James Cartwright, the next sequence would be to then talk about, of course, as I was describing how I then met Alvaro Pardo. But first, in this video clip, I do want to make very clear that I have not forgotten what the United States did to me when I was younger and had my 2 other baby girls in Coos Bay. And what they said at the time was, and how do I, if you look on my Twitter, I've talked a lot about it, talked about it a lot more on Twitter. And if you follow my Twitter, you can see that, of course, that I'm either a really good psychic all of a sudden, because I'm able to predict what's going to happen next, or these things really did happen to me, and I know that the government's trying to replay some of the same things to cover over past crimes that they committed against me. And I actually really do think that the United States government has possibly murdered those other 2 girls, because why would they have another clone in place, or even dare to try to clone someone when they know the other 2 clones would be alive? I mean, those other 2 clones aren't going to speak up and say, hey, what's going on? Or do they have them in some kind of a greenhouse environment where they can't even get out, and they don't have any access to any news about them? I just think it's much more likely that either they were prompted to commit suicide because the United States government wanted them to and forced them to it, or the United States government murdered them, used them, experimented on them, researched, and then murdered them. Because the courts and everyone else are saying never happened. And it did happen. And it's not my imagination. And a lot of people know about it too. So what I want to say, what they did in the past was, I am just a little tired right now. But in the past, I had my mom, I was saying, telling my mom, I don't want to go to this, they appointed this guardian ad litem when I'm not incompetent. I mean, anyone knows that I'm not incompetent. I do know how legal processes work. And my nonprofit business that I've started, and which has been held up because of the United States government, once again, because they actually closed my bank account to prevent me from even, they closed my ability to have a bank account nationwide. And it took several years for that to be cleared up. And in the meantime, I couldn't buy bonds for my business. I was in a better position then to get it up and started. And you only have so much time to put your business together, a nonprofit. You have 3 years, and you have to file your taxes and have all your papers in order at the end of 3 years, which has come upon now. And I haven't been able to do that. I haven't been able to organize my business because of the government, once again. And my nonprofit business, I'm still going to try. I'm going to do the best that I can at this point. But because I don't want it to fail. Because even if it's a little slower going in the startup, I do believe that I have a good idea. And I think that it is a something something that's needed, and something that I would be able to manage well if I am simply not being obstructed to the point where I can't even write a check. I mean, can I open a Kool-Aid stand over here and not have like a UPS truck or FedEx or like a USPS truck come over and charge into the table of Kool-Aid and knock it over because the CIA's put a hit on me and my Kool-Aid stand? Or maybe someone will allege that I'm so dangerous I might be poisoning the Kool-Aid. So therefore, no one should be in receipt of my services and products because they're dangerous. Well, the only thing that's dangerous is the fact that I'm not totally stupid, and that I actually have a good business idea for this nonprofit. And that is the real danger, is that it's a legal advocacy nonprofit, and it's for the right of citizens to be able to take cases to court pro se. On one hand, being pro se isn't the best of all worlds. Best of all worlds is you have a huge law firm, everybody's fighting for you, and you're just the dictator. That'd be great. But that's not available to most people unless you're extremely rich or powerful. And so a lot of people, basically for civil rights, they will have crimes committed against them that basically are like that are supposedly knocked down to civil rights level, but are really crimes. They are actually sometimes criminal level. The prosecutors or someone on the side of the government, if they're against you, they're not going to work with you. They're going to work against you. And I will finish this up later because it might be a couple parts that I talk about this, and then next I will be talking about the rape.